I'm admitting the first organization that is involved. We are live now.
So welcome everyone to the Dolphin Tank Series A, where 25 NGOs will be pitching to scale up their work across 5 tanks today. The format of the event would be that Living My Promise signatories have agreed that they'll be supporting these organizations in principle. This is our second tank for the day. I'll also use this opportunity to talk a little bit about Living My Promise. Living My Promise is a community of like-minded Indians who have committed on giving 50% or more of their wealth to philanthropic causes either during their lifetime or in their wills. The promisers help each other and invite other advantaged people to join the community. Anyone with a net worth of above 1 CR can make this promise. The causes, the organizations, and the activities that you support are entirely your choice. And to know more about this initiative, please visit www.livingmypromise.in. The organizations pitching today have set up crowdfunding platforms or crowdfunding campaigns, the links for which are also shared in the comment section of Living My Promise Facebook page. So all our viewers, if in case you want to support any of the organizations pitching today, you can do so. So I will start with a quick introduction to our friendly dolphins for the second tank of the day. First up, we have Mr. Pramod Bhasin. Mr. Pramod Bhasin is one of India's top corporate leaders and an impact investor. He is currently the chairman of Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations. We have Ms. Meenkashi Ramesh. Meenkashi Ramesh is a trustee of Urvani Foundation, a non-profit trust that develops and promotes deep diving journalism on governance, citizenship, and society. We have Mr. Ramesh Mangaleswaran has joined us. And then Mr. Ramesh, I'd like to introduce him also. So he is one of the top corporate leaders at McKinsey & Company. He leads the firm's social responsibility activities in Asia. And he also serves on the boards of Pratham Education Foundation and Pratham Skills Institute. We have Naman Gupta joining us today. He is a hotelier and a travel enthusiast based in Dehradun. He is actively involved in social activism in the region. And we have Mr. TV Srinivasan with us, who's a retired corporate professional and currently a coach and mentor to impact organizations. He is an active community service volunteer. Now for the participants, we have exactly 3 minutes to pitch, after which you will be asked to stop, followed by a 5 minutes question and answer session, and 2 minutes to seal the deal where the promisers will announce what their support for the organization. So I'll wish everybody luck for the event. So the first on our list today is Involve Learning Solutions Foundation. Can we have your presentation, please?
I need access to screen sharing.
Done.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is. Once.
Let me know when to start.
You can start now.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Devanshu, and along with Samyak, I co-founded Involve in early sophomore years of our college. And after graduation from IIT Madras, we took a conscious call to work in the development sector. I want you to imagine a scenario where students, when coming back to school after 18 months of COVID break, are not under stress. Their learning gap has reduced drastically, and they are very much self-confident. Teachers do not have to worry about students dropping out, and they are working collaboratively with other students to ensure that these learning gaps can be bridged. Today, this scenario almost looks impossible. And the reason is that today learning is completely dependent on teachers, with students having no ownership of their learning. And this lack of agency from student side is one of the biggest reasons why some of these challenges that I've mentioned in the slide above are there, be it academic gap, lack of future readiness, or their inability to overcome diversity during the COVID-19 period. We at Involve have two sole purposes. One, we want students to take active participation in the learning process. And two, we want to build their skills and confidence in order to be able to do that. And how do we do it? We design interventions around peer-based learning that create an ecosystem of support for students by students, essentially students teaching each other. And we have 3 design principles that our interventions are co-designed with students, they are led by students, and we see a voluntary participation from the student side so that they can be active participants. While in the short term, it reduces academic gap and equips them with skills. In the long term, it does the thing that we really want to happen. Their confidence gets built up and they take ownership. Over the last 3 years of working with 9,500 students, we have seen more than 75% engagement across all our programs. And in academic programs, we have seen 39% point improvement in the learning, primarily in mathematics. And coming back to the scenario that I asked you to imagine, this was not an imaginary scenario. We have done this in Anekal block in Bangalore. And we are very proud to say that teachers are actually adopting these measures, leveraging students as stakeholders to build the challenges, to improve on the challenges that we have. And this is how you can see the students learn, the joy on their faces, the participation that you can see. This is the USP of Involve. So what do I need from you today? Students are coming back from school. We want our interventions to actually impact both rural as well as urban areas where we have been working in the past. About 2,500 students from Anekal, where we are partnering with the government to deploy these solutions. And in rural areas, in one of the most backward village district in MP, in 25 villages, in partnership with CSO Parivar. Our gap funding is 6.55 lakhs for the next 6 months. And we see that there is a potential to scale these interventions in 25 times in the next 3 years, because we have that amount of participation from the government as well as from the nonprofit. Thank you so much. Looking forward to your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Just for our viewers again, reminding about the crowdfunding links which are shared in the comment section of Facebook page. Now it's open for Q&A from the Dolphins. Anybody can go first.
May I ask
Yes,
the question? How do you actually, what would you use the money for? And how do you actually scale? How big is the organization? How do you actually scale? How do you actually carry out this work?
Sure, sir. So right now we have a design lab through which we work with about 2,300, 3,000 students, but our scale model is entirely through partnerships. So one of the scale model that we're designing about right now is in partnership with community service organizations, where they already have their people in the classrooms. And we just have a playbook of how you can engage students to learn from each other, right? We do not, we have certain set of guidelines that enable these facilitation to happen properly. And we have the content that will enable the students to learn and teach from each other. But we do not have specific like sort of A, B, C steps that you need to do, because we realize that classrooms are customizable as per their own needs. Regarding the cost aspect, our cost is primarily right now in the innovation model that we work on, where we employ our own part-time people to essentially participate in the classrooms. And for every part-time people that we have every 10 part-time people that we have one full-time person from our side who looks into impact, day-to-day training and things like that. However, these costs will reduce drastically once these models start getting accepted in the classrooms as an idea, and we as an organization are not needed to push these models.
Devanshu, how do you make sure that these innovations take root? Because there is a limitation to peer learning, right? We discussed this once.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Make sure these innovations, these ways of teaching and learning get institutionalized.
Great question. So actually, one of the alternate work that we're doing on this is developing a set of training modules and guides for teachers to understand why student participation in the classrooms is important. So one is obviously a core program, where is a structured program of how senior students from 7th grade and above teach their juniors. But beyond that, what we're really advocating is the philosophy of engaging students actively in the classroom. And that we have done trainings with about 20 schools so far. And we're also working in Anekal with certain 4 to 5 clusters to implement these trainings and see if teachers are able to inculcate some of these methodologies in the classrooms. This, I think, would be the key for us to scale. Because what we're really trying to do is that mindset shift, that you do not have to be the sole giver of learning. You have to facilitate and let students take charge of their learning.
But at the same time, not let the teacher out of the picture.
Absolutely. Students have to work under the guidance of teachers. What we want to do is have students become a support system for students. Because see, in a classroom limited time, it is not possible for teachers to give attention to each and every student. There we can leverage the other students who have learned these concepts well and facilitate these conversations.
Devanshu, rural versus urban.
Yes, sir.
What has been your experience? How difficult is it going to be for you to do the rural part? I know you've done urban.
Yes, sir.
What are you assuming, and what are you hoping to learn from this?
The one of the things that we have observed is the trust between the communities is extremely critical for us to do any interventions, because ultimately we want these systems to be sustainable. In rural, we are not going via school, we were going via community centers. And one of the advantages that we have this year is that we have partnered with Parivar, who has already built that trust in those villages. So right now we are just going there as executioners. But over time, what we are really trying to learn is if we were to scale this model, and because I want that community center to be sustainable, right? Because even the facilitation that has to happen, I would really love it if the youth from the same communities could organize these centers. So in this way, I think the trust between the stakeholders is very important. The awareness on the possibilities of these models and what could be achieved is an important key in sustaining these models. And I think that we will have challenges, but we have realized that rural is a beautiful space for us because there we have access to students for more amount of time and there is no rush. So, and for our model to work, essentially students need to come together. So that's an advantage for us. And we are thinking that, so right now we are doing it with 2,500 students in Anikal block, but we have also talked to the Anikal BEO. And if this model works in the next 2 months there, he is willing to give us the space to scale it across the entire Anikal block. So that's how we are trying to scale.
Last question from me. Just in case you are highly successful in this pitch today, what will you do with the money beyond 6.5 lakhs?
I think one of the things that we will do is we will reinvest this money in our teacher development model that we have thought about, and in leveraging more and more partnerships, making our resources open source. Because today, one of the things that we have done is before we started, we wanted to look for case studies around peer-based learning and self-learning. We could not find any specific documents from India, like very one or two were there. We want to essentially be the organization that does advocacy for these kind of things and completely makes this open source. Like we have this policy inside the organization that any document that we create, they will not be limited to Involve. We'll just share it across to anybody who wants to access it so that they can recreate peer learning models in their classrooms without having us to say that this is how you should do it. We'll give guidelines, but ultimately it's on them as to how they want to leverage it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't have more time for the Q&A. So can we seal the deal? Anybody wants to support Involve?
I'm happy to, yes. Happy to come in with 2 lakhs.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So Devanshu, we are happy to come in with 1 lakh and 1 lakh of matching your crowdfunding support.
Great, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And more importantly, I want to know about the program, how it went on. So beyond it also, I would love to stay in touch and understand how it's growing.
Would love to engage, yes, ma'am.
+1 to Meenakshi's offer, similar.
All right.
So thank you, Dolphins. Thank you, Involve, for joining us.
Thank you.
Good luck, Devanshu.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dolphins, for hearing us.
Yeah, best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Just a reminder for all our viewers for the crowdfunding links which are shared on our page. So you too can support the organization switching right now. Thank you. So the next one on our the tank today is India and Bharat together.
Hi everyone. Good morning.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Yeah.
Morning, morning, good morning.
Great. So can I start now, Gunjan?
Just give me a minute. Yes, you can start.
Great. Hi everyone. I'm Adya from India and Bharat Together. And let me start with the story of a young man named Bihari from a remote village in Uttarakhand. Now, when Bihari was 21, he could see 2 paths ahead of him: get a government job or move to the city. And he spent 5 years failing one government exam after the other. After that, he moved to the nearby city of Dehradun to get a job in a small restaurant where he was getting paid 3,000 rupees a month and living in cramped rooms with 4 other people. He quickly realized he was barely making enough money to save or even send back home. And at 29, he made the bold decision to come back to his. Today, Bihari is running a successful goat rearing business. And what's more, when he's sitting in the forests of his village grazing his goats, he's also writing fantastic Kumaoni music and also has a pretty awesome YouTube following. But Bihari's story isn't every story. And what if we could have helped Bihari save those 9 years he lost? When we started our work in Uttarakhand, we found that 80% of Uttarakhand youth wanted to find local jobs, but rural jobs just don't exist. And we've also seen, especially post-COVID, that migration for jobs just isn't sustainable. However, we also found that 55% of Uttarakhand youth aspired to entrepreneurship, but they just didn't have the guidance and the role models to know where to start. And that is where IABT comes in. So last year in 2020, we ran a pilot called Margshala, through which we were able to help 5 young people from Pithoragarh start their own rural businesses in ecotourism, agri-marketing, and digital marketing. This year, we want to do the same with 15 young men and women from Uttarakhand and provide them with business training, mentorship, skilling, apprenticeship, and financial support to turn their business ideas into reality. So far, we've already received 130 applications from across Uttarakhand and have managed to raise 12 lakhs out of our 30 lakh budget for the next 12 months. So now, Dolphins, with your support, if you could invest 5 lakhs in us, together we're going to be able to impact 110 lives. 15 Margshala fellows will get a startup seed grant of 15,000, which will help them to meet their day-to-day expenses as they take this leap of entrepreneurship. 15 existing entrepreneurs will also get an honorarium, which will help them meet their costs of taking time out of their existing businesses to mentor and guide our students and also give back to their community. What's more, we'll also be able to run local livelihoods awareness workshops for 80 young men and women so that we're able to plant the seed of entrepreneurship in those young minds, because we've got to be as cognizant of the future as we are of the present. So join us and help us meet our vision of empowering aspiring Himalayan youth to create local livelihoods for themselves and their communities. And we'd love not just your financial support, but also for you to come on board as mentors and advisors to us as well as our youth. We're looking for all the support we can get to really meet our dream of making India and Bharat develop together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adya.
Adya, I love your name. I just love the idea that we have to bring these two onto the same track, India and Bharat together. Tell me, what are the vocations? I mean, I heard goat rearing, and what are the? Give me some examples of what vocations, because some of these sound. We go ahead. I'll wait.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So I think even before we started, we were looking at what kind of rural livelihood models would work in Uttarakhand, which can both have scope in terms of a business model itself, but also not be extractive of the natural resources in the region. And in fact, I think a lot of work has been done by this on the Uttarakhand government as well, because migration is something everyone's trying to work against. So we've looked at primarily agri-marketing, which can include, say, horticulture, fruits. Hemp is coming up in a big way with Uttarakhand having given licenses for hemp cultivation. Mushroom cultivation is another thing that's coming up big, which is low cost to start up, but also has a good demand, and fruit processing and vegetable processing, anything where you're taking existing resources and packaging and processing to give it a larger shelf life. So that's one, agri processing. Animal husbandry for sure, because Uttarakhand's climate is very good for things like beekeeping and dairy and also poultry. Other than that, we're looking at ecotourism, where we're looking at small homestays, and we're looking at individual entrepreneurship models like nature guide and trekking guide. And then we're looking at anything digital, which involves having a computer setup and having an internet setup. So we're primarily looking at these 4 sectors.
Why Uttarakhand? You're from there?
I'm from Uttarakhand. I'm from Dehradun, currently based there. And I've also worked in Uttarakhand now for the last 10 years, spent maybe 4 to 5 years living in different villages and understanding what Bharat is all about. So I think that's where the motivation comes from.
We have a dolphin who's joined us from Uttarakhand. So Naman is from there. So we have any more questions? What's the next question?
Yes. If I may. I actually worked with Villageways, which does ecotourism in Uttarakhand and provides remote healthcare services. One of the, entrepreneurship is very hard to teach. It's huge risk, right, for people. How do you, and I know it's a very general question, but how do you equip these people to survive through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship? Because while I love the thought, it's actually the hardest thing to do is to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think what pushed us to do this, Pramodji, was that we could see a lot of these young men and women who in the absence of entrepreneurship were just sitting at home doing nothing because, you know, they weren't finding jobs. So what we're doing right now, you'll see we're only going to work with 15 fellows. So the idea is to keep it a small group that gets a lot of one-on-one personalized mentorship throughout the journey. And we're also being very cognizant of how we select the fellows. Out of these 130, we're only looking to find 15 who already come in with a few skills and attitudes related to having shown that they've taken action, having shown that they come in with resilient mindsets already, and they've dealt with failure, that they have a positive relationship with failure to start out with. You know how they say, like, to get a strong tree, you need to make sure that the sapling is really strong. We're starting with that right now. And on top of that, we're also trying to build resilient skills through the program itself by ensuring that they're speaking to not just successful entrepreneurs, but also failed entrepreneurs, and understanding the ins and outs of how entrepreneurship isn't just, you know, a pipe dream of, okay, be your own boss, but there are very grim realities to confront as well. So I think it's a combination of these things that we're hoping for the risk mitigation part of showing them the realities of the entrepreneurial journey.
Very quickly, if I may. So how long does this program last for each entrepreneur? And then, how much effort and let me just ask that one question. How long does this last? How long do you handhold them for? And my next question actually was going to be brought about, therefore, how will you scale? Because this would be hard to scale.
Correct. So it's a 6-month program by design, where we spend the first couple of months on talking about business basics and the basic principles of identifying what business model works, doing market research. And the next 4 months are very much an action phase where they actually get into it by starting to prototype their business, trying to get customer feedback. It's a 6-month cycle that we've developed. Last year, when we ran the pilot, we were actually able to do this over the course of 4 months. So we do think that there will be some who will move faster than others, but we've accounted for 6 months to get their business ideas from 0 to 1, where they have a business model and have made a first sale at the end of it. In terms of scaling this, Pramodji, I think we are thinking of keeping this as a very, perhaps maybe having a more, we're not looking at scaling Margshala, the fellowship, into where we're turning 10,000s of people into entrepreneurs. We are going to look at maybe doing, reaching a place where we're creating 2,000 entrepreneurs by 2025. And the idea is to replicate this in different districts of Uttarakhand and then go to other Himalayan states. Because currently the rural livelihood model is very much based on, ecotourism and beekeeping may not work as well in, say, Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra without a lot of piloting first. So we're looking at keeping the Margshala scaling limited, but what we're looking to scale is a community exploration programs called Khodshala, through which you're doing the planting of the idea of entrepreneurship in young minds, so that they can eventually go on to become Margshala fellows and also learn from the stories of the Margshala role models that we're creating. So the scale in creating that entrepreneurial mindset is coming from Khodshala, while Margshala will remain a slightly more exclusive program, if I may say so.
I think we've exceeded our time for the Q&A, so we might not have more time for questions. Can we straight away go to sealing the deal? Anybody wants to support?
Hi, Gunjan. This
Yes.
is Naman. Great to
Yes,
see you,
sir.
Adya. I'm sorry I couldn't ask the questions. I would still love to know more about the scalability part of this.
Yeah.
Because, and of course, I'm interested because it's in Uttarakhand and I have been working with a lot of government-based projects regarding skill development and entrepreneurship development. So I'd love to support this. I would love to offer an amount of 2 lakhs for this. And later on, maybe we can get in touch regarding some kind of hand-holding from either side.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Naman.
Thank you, Adya.
Adya,
I'm happy. I'll add 1 lakh to it. I do a lot of work in Uttarakhand, so we'll connect later.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yes.
Adya, we are happy to give you the 15,000 into 15, 2.25. Your seed money.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Our students are going to be so happy.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much, Meenakshi ji.
I will hope your crowdfunding campaign goes well, and I will match it up to 1.5 lakhs.
Thank you, TV. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dolphins. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Adya, and all the best.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, for the viewers, I'm reminding that we also have crowdfunding links which are shared on our Facebook page. So you too can fund the organizations which are pitching today. Now, the second on our list today is Build Empathy Foundation. Kavya,
Can you unmute?
Bhavya, can you unmute? Yes.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, Gunjan, the PC hung up for a little bit. Share.
Adya, you can drop from the.
I'm experiencing tech issues, Gunjan. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do it.
Right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here to be a part of the.
Bhavya, can we start? No, just give me a minute.
Okay,
I didn't
yes.
die. Yeah, thank you. Yes, you can start now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here to be a part of Built Empathy's journey, where we use architecture and urbanism to create safer and inclusive cities and communities. The little girl in the center, she's Pooja. She's 6 years old, lives in a slum, and loves to play tag. In her life, which revolves around the school she grows up in and the community she lives in, Pooja experiences a lack of access to basic services every day. Poor walkability, unreliable mobility access, not enough lighting in social spaces, and inadequate water and hygiene access. She has basically no interaction with natural environments. All of this directly impacts her and her family's educational opportunity, potential for economic prosperity, physical and mental well-being, her timely access to healthcare, personal safety, and overall stability and belonging. Community spaces in India are unsafe and not inclusive, especially for our most vulnerable groups of low-income women and children. To challenge that, we started with the vision of improving livability in Indian cities by making our community spaces safer and more inclusive. So how do we do that? Working alongside the visible aspects we talk about, we also work on the invisible but equally important aspects of physical safety by planning beautiful environments that invoke joy in living, planning for all kinds of users, designing strategies for behavior change, and above all, an environment which resonates with the core values of safety and inclusion. With our intervention, Pooja and her friends enjoy spaces built especially for them. Her community space invokes the dignity everyone deserves. She probably doesn't even realize she's learning through play. Proper access to water and sanitation facilities reduces the possibility of period shaming for when she grows up and encourages attendance, which in turn reduces the risk of dropout. Through thoughtful action, we co-create spaces with the children that present an opportunity for the little unexpected magical experiences of fun and happiness every childhood is about. We have a team of architects and urban designers with diverse experiences of working on national level projects, handling lead roles in startups, and creating communities. Our mentors and advisors are seasoned entrepreneurs, founders of nonprofits, and consultants with some consulting firms in the world. We have also been fortunate to have had some early success in awards, including implementation work as part of impact-driven state level schemes. To fulfill the aspirations of safe, inclusive, and happy spaces for millions of other children like Pooja, we need your support. You could sponsor a school or an Anganwadi where the interventions will last for a minimum of 3 years, or help us in building a research-based toolkit to empower community stakeholders to initiate self-development of spaces, which will help us to scale our work to 150 schools for the next year.
Thank you, Bhavya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we move to the question answers, please?
Where is, sorry, this is Meenakshi. Where is your work based, Bhavya?
Hi, Meenakshi. We work all over India. So the way we work is we collaborate with organizations who are working on grassroots permanently in certain communities. And through them, we work in different states wherever our collaboration is. It speeds up the process for like community participation.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Mr. Yeah.
No, please, Meenakshi, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add that because the need is so great everywhere, we just wondered if you use the concept of Shram Daan as a way of getting the community to support and own the space that you make safe for them.
Absolutely, we do. In fact, children, they love the painting part of the activity. And in fact, when the communities are low income, usually we get our construction workers from within the community only. So we pay them, it's a source of livelihood for them, but there's a different kind of ownership in which, so it's like a artwork that they have built for themselves in their own communities. So that pride that shows. Yes.
I'm going to wait for TVS to go. If he has any, no?
You can go,
No,
sir. Yeah.
go ahead, Pramod.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe a couple of questions. One, of course, the need is so huge. So how do you scale? Again, how do you really take it? And two, how can you create a self-perpetuating mechanism here to get this going? Because the last one that you talked about in terms of the grants you want of 2.5 lakhs, I think, or whatever it was, talks about self-development of these schemes. So how will that work? Tell us exactly how do you do that?
So what we want to do is currently when we partner with grassroots organizations, we act as consultants, say, in that mode, and we work on the communities. We eventually want to give this toolkit and we want to make it so simplified that the most basic of things they can understand and do it with the help of the Gram Panchayat. So say this is the problem, these are the possible solutions. This is something that you can do for the kids. This is the kind of impact that it will give. And once it percolates to say the school teachers, they all get like a minimum budget for improvement within the schools and Anganwadis. They can maybe use that to that end versus designing in a more haphazard way. Is that and there was another first part of your question. Yes, skilling. So the idea for long term is not that we and our small group of architects and urban designers will continue to do this on our own. We want to be facilitators so that we bring in different architects and urban designers and make that kind of a network where we're just serving as a bridge builder. And then we bring in different architects, urban designers, connect them through the people on grassroots who we are connected with, and possibly a fellowship, maybe 3 years down the line. So far, we just have like a volunteer and toolkit based model. Yes.
And as you do that, how do you think you could, give me an example of some of the great ideas that you've come up with, which are innovative, because otherwise you would think, this is something that the community could do for itself anyway.
Right. So, Pramod, I think good design is something that should feel very obvious. Like, my goal is that people should feel, isme kya hai? We could have done this ourselves. So say something like putting a jali wall on the community toilet in the middle of a field. It helps like people to use it and women to use it, and it prevents shame. Otherwise, they have to come out and wash their hands. It's such a simple thing, easily doable, but huge impact, because now teenage girls are not afraid ki, young boys are sitting there. They have that apprehension that people will watch me.
Of course.
So simple solutions, very simple things, doable, but just that probably people don't think of as often, and as a result, they get missed.
Okay. Have time for more questions.
I don't have any questions. No.
Sure. Do we have any other questions? Because we still have a minute.
Well, maybe then I'll ask you a quick question. Do you have are you working with a rural 100 kilometers from Bangalore, within the radius of 100 kilometers from Bangalore?
So we haven't started working in rural Bangalore yet, but we have worked in rural Punjab and rural UP.
Okay.
Our reach is so far limited to the reach of the grassroots organizations we have partnered with, because they are our community handholders. So our processes are faster because we already get that community, bonding through our partner organizations.
Thank you. Thank you. So just quickly reminding our viewers about the crowdfunding links which are shared in the comment section. Now, can we have the support for the organizations from the Dolphins?
I just want to clarify one little thing. You had said, you would ask for money in specific areas. Do you want it in those areas, or do you want it generally, or what would you prefer?
it would help if it's general. Obviously, unrestricted grants help, and we are still in the scale of in the stage of like building up. So we could put it to use for one school, but even with the intention of putting for one school and one Anganwadi would be to document the process eventually for the toolkit that we are talking about, because that's the eventual goal of how we want to scale. So in any case, it's going to go to the toolkit.
Thank you. So now can we have the support?
So we're happy to give you 2 lakhs, Bhavya. It's unrestricted, as he just as Mr. Bhasin just asked. Feel free to use it. Obviously, if you were to use it to build your capability, that amplifies it. So feel free to use it as you would.
Thank you, Meenakshi. I appreciate it.
I would be in the same place. I'd happily give you 2 lakhs, but I would like you to actually, if I may, forgive me
Right.
for this. I wouldn't normally do that because you're in the best position to use the money the way you want to. But the more you can use it to build scale and, you know, broaden it is better rather than one school in one place, which,
Yes.
so I would just ask you to.
I would actually love to connect with you later, and we can work together on this. I would also love your advice on hear you out on how we can do this.
With pleasure. So I'm happy to give 2.5 lakhs. I know what a difference this can make to everyone. Actually, Delhi government has been phenomenal at this in terms of transforming the schools here by simple measures. So it's very effective.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I hate to say this, but I mean, I would like to support, but I would like to be involved, meaning I have very little exposure to the rural India. So if you do a project somewhere that I can drive to, I will support, you know, the Anganwadi, the school, whatever you need in that setup. Now,
So
that goes
we're-
against what Pramod is saying about, you know, scale in one place rather than one at a time. But that's where I am.
Right. Okay. So we're actually based out of Bangalore. Our organization is registered in Bangalore. So we have worked in schools within Bangalore itself.
Okay. So when you got one, let me know.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Build Empathy and Bhavya.
Thank
Join
you.
us.
All the best, Bhavya.
Thank
All the best.
you. Thank you, everyone.
So up next, yeah. So the next organization that we have is a SAARAS Foundation. Hi, Salim. Can you
Hi.
share your screen? And
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is. And you can start.
Okay. Hi, my name is Salim and I'm a founder of SAARAS Impact Foundation. What kind of problem we are solving? So there are more than 400 welfare schemes run by the government of India for the underprivileged community, but they are not able to take the benefit of it. The reason behind is lack of awareness, improper support system from the government side. There is a complex process from the government side and the design gap. SAARAS Foundation is currently working on the Right to Education 12(1)(c), which talk about free admission into the private school, and Pradhan Mantri Matra Vandana Yojana is a scheme which talk about first pregnant mother will get the benefit of 5,000 rupees in Uttar Pradesh. How SAARAS is working? We are working in 3 different ways. One is the awareness part, second one is the support part, third one is the capacity building and the government advocacy part. Under the awareness part, we are running a free missed call helpline number through which we are providing 360-degree support system to the beneficiaries. We are going on the field. We are creating awareness among the community members. We are also developing a community champion so that we can make the process self-sustainable. Under the support part, we are doing the pre and post application support to the beneficiary with the use of technology. Under the government advocacy and capacity building, we are building a capacity of the low organization, grassroots level organization, so that we can make the process self-sustainable. We are working on the grievance redressal of the beneficiaries, and we have developed a online management system for the government. Till now, we have supported 75,239 citizens, out of which 16,343 children enrolled themselves under Right to Education 12C and unlocking 8.17 crore per year. Under PMEY, 12,000 pregnant mothers received the benefit and unlocking 1 crore. These are the awards and recognition: Unlimited India Incubator, Atma Education, NSRCL, IIM Bangalore, School for Social Entrepreneurs, Social Enterprise Academy. We have received jury award from the AMP. We have received appreciation letter from the district administration of the Siddharth Nagar. There are various media publish our articles and the ground intervention like Dainik Jagran, Amar Ujala, Regional Digest magazine publish our articles. These are our core team and the advisory. Ronak done PhD from the Singapore University, Mr. Hamik and Virko, CEO and Director of Zaya Learning, Mr. Vivek Sharma, Director Gandhi Fellowship, Mr. Santosh Abrams, co-founder Datagram. We are also taking technology support from the Datagram, Mr. Varun Rangarajan, Director of Implementation from Noora Health. We have a deficit of 10 lakh rupees, where with your support, we will be able to continue our provide support system to the underprivileged community and run a successful program for this financial year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Can we have the question and answers, please, from the
Quite a lot of questions, if I may, Salim.
Yes.
Which is, how do you do this? Tell us, what is your organization? How do you actually do this? We appreciate, I think it's a wonderful cause. I work with HelpAge, where we do this for the elderly, and give them, enumerate for them, help them understand it, right? But how do you actually do it?
Yeah, and I just want to add that it's so much harder than it seems in a 3-slide presentation. So hats off to you guys.
That's right.
Yeah. So basically, so like that, I have mentioned that we are running a free missed call helpline number. We are collaborating with the different organization. We are and we are also doing the kind of partnership. So we are doing we have done the partnership with the Ola. We have done the partnership with the Rapido. Their driver are actual beneficiaries and fall down under these two schemes. We are also developing a community champion, and we picked up Anganwadi. So one Anganwadi is covering 1,000 population. And with the support of the Anganwadi, we are maximizing our outreach, and we are trying to create awareness and provide a support system accordingly. So this is the grassroots model.
How many people do you have in your organization then? So, and how does it work?
Okay. So there are more than 7 people, 7 permanent staff, and we have 40 volunteers of data volunteers. And there are more than 7 organizations in UP through which we are providing a support system. And in our network, there's a network of the AMP through which many organizations from the various districts of Uttar Pradesh. So we are circulating such kind of information and taking support system accordingly.
Do you charge a token fee for these services, or is it completely free?
Yeah. So we have done 2 different pilots. One is that we have charged minimum amount 70 rupees per application form to make the process self-sustainable and to make the organization self-sustainable. And as comparison to market rate, like internet cafe and other stakeholders are taking more than 150 rupees, 200 rupees. So this is the kind of pilot we have done. And we have also done a free of cost as well. So with this pilot, we are confident enough that we can develop a business model for the organization so that we can make the organization also self-sustainable.
Salim, I have a question which goes beyond just the RTI and getting a student admitted. You work with NGOs. How do you do anything to sustain that child in the new environment?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what do you do?
Correct, sir. So one is that we are tracking the child. So we have a application through which we are taking all the detail of the child, and on quarter basis, on this quarterly, we are tracking the child. Secondly, we are also introducing a foundational learning support system for this child. So we are in partnership with the Key Education Foundation, which is working on the foundational learning of the kids. So through which we are trying to cover the parents, and with the support of the parent, we make sure that these children can work over the learning outcome of as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have time for one more question.
So I want to ask you, Salim, if you are thinking about whatever is the material, the resources that you have, that you engage volunteers with, you should think about, because this is again a huge problem in the country. You should think about perhaps starting to translate it into other languages. Maybe you don't need to go into other states, but perhaps you can work with others or similar organizations in other states. And I'm sure people in the LMP group can connect you with lots of grassroots organizations. But perhaps find a way to translate the resource material into other languages so that we can actually find a way to disperse this knowledge. This is a huge problem, and this is admirable work.
Yeah, yes. And absolutely, I completely agree with you, ma'am. And like we are running a helpline number, and now it is a IVRS come helpline number support system. So what we are thinking that we will upload the IVRS into multiple language, and as per the state need, and we can collaborate with the different organizations so that they can take this process into their respective state, and we can provide support system accordingly. Yeah.
And keep the minimum charging model. जो मुफ्त में चीज मिलती है, कोई इज्जत कीमत absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dolphins. Reminding our viewers about the crowdfunding links again. So after hearing Salim, if you wish to support the organization, you can do so by the crowdfunding links which are shared on our Facebook page. Now can we get on to the support?
I think, this is a huge area, huge impact it can have. Wonderful work that you're doing. I'd be very happy to come in with 3 lakhs to support you.
Thanks a lot.
You said you had a deficit of 10, right? So we are happy to cover that by 2 lakhs. We'll give you
Thanks a lot.
That's only 50% of the way, huh? I'll go 25%. I guess I'll go 50% of the 50%. So I'll give you 2.5 lakhs.
Thanks a lot.
And then hopefully your crowdfunding will generate the 2.5.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, exactly. And Salim, if I may just add, I think it'll be great to connect, because this is something we've been trying to do at HelpAge for the elderly across India. But I think if we can, exactly what Meenakshi was saying, find ways to scale this across, and it's very hard to do, but if you can get people to know what their rights are, nothing more empowering than that,
I think your help and guidance definitely make us strong and provide a support system accordingly. Thanks a lot, sir, for your support.
Do let us know how the crowdfunding goes.
Sure.
Maybe we'll do something to bridge that, take it up to 10. So let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dolphins. Thank you, sir.
All the best.
All the best.
Thanks a lot.
So the next organization that we have today, which is the last for this tank, is Environmental Synergies in Development. Thank you for joining us. Can you share your screen, please?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, you can start now.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, actually. This is Mandal Alur, CEO and founder of Insight. Environmental Synergies and Development is an NGO based in Bangalore working on environmental solutions. This is one solution that we're going to be talking about. I'm hoping that all of you all will be willing to be the prescription for change as you hear this presentation. So we work on behavioral change, creating awareness, and the implementing solutions in the areas of waste management, water, climate change, and experiential education in the space of environment again. Today's problem, I'm sure all of you have expired and unused medicines sitting at home, don't know really what to do with it, or you throw it in the garbage and not really understanding where that's going and what it's doing to the environment. Today, India generates about 775 tons of medical waste every day, of which 150 tons is non-bulk medicines, which is generated by you and me. And that ends up in the landfill. And especially expired medicines is about 50 tons approximately per day. This is causing a huge problem in terms of bioaccumulation in plants, it's polluting our water environment, and it's also causing what's called an antibiotic resistance to human beings. So it's a huge problem, and it's very little understood. So what is our solution? We have conducted a pilot for past 6 months, and we have, in that pilot, we've looked to scale the same operations by creating awareness and onboarding resident welfare associations. We have a collection mechanism, which is by placing bins in these apartments or pharmacies or local clinics. And we have tie-up with a responsible treatment facility, which is authorized by the Pollution Control Board. So far, we have done this pilot, and we have sensitized over 38,000 citizens and managed about 300 kgs responsibly. What are we proposing is that we will extend this program to about 200 resident associations, collect about 10,000 kgs of medicines in a year. And with this, in terms of sustainability, we are looking at a user fee to the RWA. What are we kind of assessing through this is the kgs that we collect, the kind of RWAs that we onboard, and how we grow the program. And what is our budget? Is about 18 lakhs is the total budget for the year, and a unit economics of 9,000 per RWA. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, reminding the viewers about the crowdfunding links, which are shared in the section of the page, which is links. Taking the Q&A around.
Mangali, at first you started off with about behavior change, and this looks like a behavior change at the individual family level. As a coach, I tell people that unless their mindset changes, their behavior doesn't change. They can do it for a short while, but they'll go back to their old ways. So I see a gap. When I not see a gap, I want to ask you this. So you do awareness. So people become aware. But what are you doing that will make them take a specific action on a daily or weekly or monthly basis? Because this is not, you don't have used medicines on a daily basis. You have it when, So how do you do that part to really scale up the amount of collection of these medicines? What are your thoughts on you're already planning?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad you asked that question, because we have a very similar program in e-waste. And what we did in that is to look at how we can do the awareness on a continuous basis. But awareness without the solution also doesn't work. So the solution that we put in place is multi-pronged, based on a large-scale survey and understanding of how consumers behave towards that particular problem. So in this case also, we intend to continue in the awareness programs in the RWAs by sending continuous information to them. Now, definitely, like you said, there is not a collection of medicines every day, but there is over a period of 3 months, people do collect, and especially now under COVID, there's a lot more of that, because people are getting a little nervous and they kind of hoard and they don't necessarily finish every strip. So there's a constant education program that we have in place, and the education and awareness is in multi-dimensional. I mean, we do street plays, it's just not online. Of course, now with a little bit of the COVID situation, it has become a little bit online, but we do a lot of different things. We get children engaged in the process. We get the households to change, to understand that this is a problem. And when you have the bin, which is actually designed for awareness also, it's there in your apartment, then that constant reminder is also there.
Is that the yellow bin?
The yellow bin was the e-waste bin. That's our program as well.
No, we have a yellow bin now in my apartment, which is for medicines. Anyway, maybe, I don't know, you're Bangalore based, I'm Bangalore. I'd like to meet up with you, and
for sure.
Maybe through my connection with Rotary. We do blood camps, we do clothes collection, shoe collection. It should be easy for us to do a medicine collection if we know that somebody is going to pick it up from us.
We've actually done it with Rotary already.
About how we can do that.
I'm sorry, but I was just going to say we've also done it with Rotary as well in Bangalore during our pilot.
Okay, great. I didn't hear about it, but that's fine. We'll catch up on that. How to take it.
May I ask, you've talked about collecting it from individual homes, and it's a similar point as to how do you convince people that this is worth doing, but what do you end up doing with the waste, one? And two, how do you how can you generate more income from the RWS? Because the RWS typically have a very difficult time, just getting rid of waste and getting waste collected. I mean, forget about medical waste, right? So it just very hard to mobilize all of that.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, two things is, one is definitely in our pilot itself, we have evaluated the willingness of RWAs to pay for something like this. We also conducted what was called collection drives. So we did it, like we took Indranagar or one area, and then we said we'll do a collection drive. And the RWA, which is very active in that area, kind of got together all the residents and they collected a huge amount. And that we sent a van and we ensured that it goes to the treatment facility. So in a large number of RWAs are willing to do it. Some of them are definitely not. There are hesitation. And we have to play the convincing game and we have to tell them the reason why it is there. And so that's always a hard task, but we've done it really well in the case of the e-waste program. So we've learned a lot through that. In terms of your second question, we have a tie-up with Maradi, and we also have some MOUs with Ramki, which we're in talks right now. So they are authorized by the Pollution Control Board to actually facilitate the disposal of this.
You also have programs for school children. Somehow all change that goes from school to home seems to be, I mean, the kids will pester their parents to make the change happen. So is there a program to also work through school children?
Absolutely. In fact, again, in the pilot, we worked with Shishugraha and a few of the other schools in Bangalore. But that was mostly from an awareness perspective and getting the parents to send their medicines on a one-time basis, just so that they understand it. Parents are a little hesitant to involve children when it comes to medicines. So we are a little careful about that. When it comes to e-waste and things, it is easier because it's not, it doesn't harm the child. But awareness, yes, through schools as well.
So do you have an online fundraising campaign going?
Yes, we do on Milap.
Is that active today?
Yes.
Great. So again, we're using this opportunity for the viewers to support the organizations through their crowdfunding. Now, can we have the support from the Dolphins?
I'm happy to support it for a lakh and come in.
Thank you so much, Pramod. Thank you.
Yep. We're also happy to support you. We'll for a lakh.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Thank you very much.
Add one more, and then, but I want to talk to you separately later about
Definitely.
this.
That is worth its weight in gold.
Definitely, Devi. I will definitely be in touch with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dolphins. Thank you for the organizations who have joined us today and the viewers watching us. Please support the organizations through the crowdfunding links which are shared on our page, which is Living My Promise Facebook page. And our next tank is scheduled at 1 p.m. where we'll have 5 more organizations and 4 dolphins. Hope you enjoyed the show like we did.
Thank you,
so
everybody.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gunjan.
Any
Good
parting words from the dolphins?
I'm always blown away by the work that is being done, especially especially in rural India. Such young people. What was I doing when I was 24? I have no idea. And these people go out with these dreams, stars in their eyes, wanting to change. It's incredible. It's very inspiring. Every time I hear these stories, I have goosebumps. So thank you for putting this together. Very, very happy to have been on this panel today.
Maybe you want to say something?
Sorry?
Yes, you want to say yes?
Yeah, first time for me here. I mean, in terms of this format, I was in there last year. So yes, I think it makes it easy. I've found it difficult to give when I say that you get these questions about is this just something that will not have any effect or long-term impact. But I think it's again working with other promises on the same, let's say, the group, it makes it easier for me to make those decisions. So thanks.
I would add that I think it's wonderful work, lots of wonderful ideas. the same point, it makes it easier to give because you get to know the people, and you know, there's a screening that you've done. I would just add one other thing. What is interesting to me is to think about how do we help these people scale? You know, because honestly, they've all got good ideas. We all come across many NGOs, many people doing great work. Honestly, you know, in Uttarakhand, I'm doing work on remote healthcare delivery, right? With some people. So we've got our model and somebody else there. I wish there was a way to, with Living My Promise, I don't know if there's a way for some of us to come together almost to build an organization that just helps scale great ideas across the country. Anyway, it's just something percolating in my mind, so I'll have to think about this.
Yes, yes, definitely. We all can get together and think about it.
No, really, I think maybe that's a good extension to this concept that we don't come back next year for Ganutsav, but we, the ones that really touched our hearts, we try and stay engaged with them. We were lucky to be in touch with a couple that we spoke to last year, but I also think that maybe not all of them scale. Some of them remain niche and do great work, which is okay too.
Which is fine. Absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, as you're saying, I think same thing, you know, I go back to my daughter, at 18 or 20, she's